My name is Clifford Thompson, and I'm presently a teacher in Richmond, California at King Elementary School. I teach fifth grade. I actually selected King after being placed at El Cerrito Elementary School, Harding, and I selected King because it would allow me to utilize what I feel are the skills that I've developed over the years as a classroom teacher and administrator, and one who's gone back to the classroom, so I could work with Black and Brown children.
And you are currently you're on the Oakland School Board, is that correct?
Yes, indeed. And thank you very kindly, Mr. Nicholson, because you're one of my supporters who helped me actually ascend to the seat of the Oakland Unified School District Board of Education. And I represent District 7, which is in East Oakland. And East Oakland is comprised basically of Black and Brown students. So I'm 100% virtual right now with all of my students, all of my fifth grade students.
And how big is your class right now?
I have 28 students in my classroom, but I'm mainstreaming one child who is actually in special education, but he spends his entire day with me. So we're trying to help him make that transition from a special education classroom into a gen ed classroom.
Wow.
So I have 29 students in essence.
You've spent most of your career teaching in person, as
Mhm,
most teachers have.
mhm.
So I guess what has been the biggest challenge for you in adjusting to being a full-time virtual teacher?
Again, I think it's extending the various ways that I can actually teach, like the pedagogical things that I need to do. So, because of the virtual classroom, I can't do the extra things that I would normally do if I were in the classroom, like the group work, the extended conversations. Allowing kids to be creative and come up with their own way of expressing a specific idea. So that's the biggest challenge. At one time, I thought the challenge would be having kids show up, but I have a pretty good attendance rate. I have almost 100% attendance, anywhere from 95 to 100%, probably every day. And a lot of it, and I know you didn't ask this specifically, but a lot of it, I think I attribute it to the fact that I use an affirmation every morning. I did that in my classroom when we were physically together. I did it every morning. Well, I've kind of adapted the affirmation a little bit because it's a lot shorter, number one. And it's really catered toward kids understanding that even though we're in this virtual learning situation, they're going to always do their best. So I still, and that's an actual line in the affirmation, I did my best. So I do that affirmation with them so that they understand that even though we're in this virtual learning situation, as long as they're doing their best, even though they might, have a difficulty with connectivity, et cetera, et cetera. So as long as they're doing their best, I'm satisfied.
I know from you as a classroom teacher that class culture was always so important to you. Uh,
Yes.
do you feel like you've been able to create that even virtually?
I think I have, and I'm glad you mentioned class culture because my five pillars are relationship, culture, communication, consistency, and structure. And so even though we have a virtual setting, I still embrace those five pillars.
Mhm.
And because I sort of reflect on those every single day to make sure that I am actually living up to those five. I think it has helped to create an environment, even though we're virtual, that kids understand that we are in this together as a group. So ownership, I think, has resulted as um, through this entire process.
I know that that was so watching you work in the classroom, that was one of the biggest things I always took away from that, was that you made sure that all the kids knew yes, they had to do the work, but not just because you were some like dictatorial, like, you're going to do what I say. It was because you knew what they could do. You were holding them to it. And I think I would watch as those first couple of weeks, the kids would be like, they would push back and then they would stop, because it was almost, it was really all of them. It was it was quite remarkable. So the fact that you're still trying to do that virtually when I know how hard that is I think so commendable.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholson. I really appreciate it.
What have been the tools that have been most useful or helpful doing distance learning? What's been most effective?
Um, of course, understanding the technology. That's one thing, because if you don't have that, then there's always a disconnect between you and your students. So it took me a while to get there because it was a learning curve,
Yeah.
and I had to learn all of the technology and stuff. And so, so now that I have that pretty much in place, then understanding how to engage students, period, but
Yeah.
then understanding the complication of engaging them over the computer electronically. So those are the kinds of things that I've talked that I have been thinking about.
Yeah.
How to make the engagement happen even though I'm not there. So I go back to the affirmation that I do. I start each morning with the affirmation to let them know that I, their teacher, Dr. Thompson, really understand what's going on. But again, I'm not going to let you just do a little bit. I want you to do your best, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so I think the kids have inculcated that.
Yeah.
And so they know now that, this is what I am holding them to. And so, oh boy. Yeah. So I think bringing in the information from the affirmation, like I told you, holding up the 5 pillars that I believe in, having adjusted to and learned the technology, making sure that there is insistence and I want you to do this. And even if it's not perfect, just do your best at it.
Yeah.
All of those things help, I think, help the students understand that it's a real situation that they're in. And even though we're not in person having that conversation, there still is an expectation that it take place. And so the kids are doing it.
What do you think teachers, if you could give one message to administrators, to principals about what teachers need right now, or what students need right now, what would that priority thing be? What should they be focusing on, in your opinion? I know it's a big question.
Yeah, it's a really big question. Just, I would say participation, making sure the kids participate. Now I know that's a tall order, but I think even in this environment, we need to have kids participate. You can't give up and say, oh, because of this thing called virtual learning, kids don't have to participate. No, because as an administrator, I think about the long term. That is one whole year of being on the computer. If you don't have kids participate, that's one whole year that's lost.
Yeah.
And that's what really concerns me and bothers me, because if teachers have not embraced that concept, then again, and I'm going back to something we mentioned earlier, then again, teachers will say, okay, well, that's okay because we're doing virtual. No, it's not okay because we're doing virtual learning that you let kids off. No, you want kids to participate. So I guess if I were an administrator right now, the one thing that I would tell administrators is you need, and I hope this doesn't sound too bad, but you need to pop in classes every single day. I believe in popping in classes when you're in person. I believe it right now. So I made sure I gave my principal my link so that she could pop into my class anytime she wanted to. I made it easy for not only the principal, I made it easy for the special ed teacher, the RSP. I tried to put it out there for several people. Just drop in, see what's going on, drop in. If you have a question, drop in. If you want to make a comment, whatever, because excuse me, we cannot lower our expectation just because we're in a different setting.
Yeah.
So I would say participation.
You are, as I said at the beginning, and you talked about at the beginning, are on the Oakland School Board.
Yes.
What is that job like right now? What is the board focused on right now in this situation?
You know, because Oakland is not unique, really, in the sense that they're trying to deal with the physical solvency of the district.
Mm.
That I have to be honest, that's one thing that we're dealing with. Also, we're dealing with um, the the union and the staff and the MOU for reopening of school. So
Mm.
that's complicated because you have not only your bargaining unit dealing with that and the staff at the school, but you're also looking at the county and then also the state. Then on top of that, the national. So all of those ideas are, well, that's one thing I know that we're really dealing with. And then the third thing is on a personal level, I am looking at the availability of quality education for all students. And especially since my district is Black and brown, I want to make sure that there's quality education for our Black and brown students.
Last is, do you have a moment from the past month or anything in your classroom, your virtual classroom, that has made you laugh or brought you joy? Anything you can think of?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. My to be honest, several of my kids like to keep their cameras on, and you can see they're so happy. They're just dancing around, and that has brought me the most joy to see that the kids are being kids and they're not allowing all of this negative stuff to totally down them. It gives me so much joy. It really does.
It is interesting to note that obviously the situation is not ideal. We wish we were all in person, but
Mhm.
when there's an element of they're no longer surrounded by all their peers, there's no longer like maybe that judgment or the kind of the fighting that can get set off.
Mhm.
I've noticed that too. There are students
Mhm.
who, at least emotionally, seem to be are much more able to regulate, and it's
Yeah.
interesting to,
Yes.
it's really interesting to see.
It really is. And it brings, I'm sure it brings both of us
Yeah.
tremendous joy to see kids who are able to say, hey, here I am.
Yeah.
My dream, was always to somehow be a teacher and be involved in this education sector.
Since August, you've been doing kind of like synchronous lessons, like using Zoom.
Yes, we did the e-lesson as well as the Zoom, so we incorporated both those, and then we conducted our learning.
I guess I'm interested in, what does your schedule look like on a typical day of teaching? What is your schedule like?
Okay, normally we have our classes started from it's 8:30, and it depends upon the grade. So we give the early time to our junior, our primary, and then the higher grades, the middle school, they extend till 12, but we have till 12. So, but working on the administration and all, I'm like packed till 3 to 4.
Okay.
But still my work is like continuing even after, because I have to have everything in contact with the parents, with the students. So there is no off hours.
Yeah. Oh boy. I can understand having shifted from in-person teaching to now this virtual teaching. What has the biggest challenge been for you?
For me, it has been the digital, the technology platform that has been, and especially in our the networks. Initially, in normal days, we can't rely on the network. But then when everything has to be handled and we have to depend solely on the network, that was like a big challenge for us all.
I for sure. So how is that situation going? Like, do most of your students have access to a stable network, or no, or is it a mix?
It's a mix because as soon as the pandemic, started, we had half our children, travel out of valley because most of them are from out of valley. That means they are from remote places or villages. So their parents took them over there. And we had only few, those of who had like their permanent address in current Kathmandu over here. So we had for our half the session, we had almost half our students that were staying out of valley, and we had only half. But still, what was so motivating for us was that even the parents, they were trying really hard, with buying the data for the mobile, and then they were trying their really best, to involve the child from wherever they were. But still we had a lot of students, but still we do, because it's just starting that they're traveling and they're coming back towards normalcy. But
Wow.
still, right now it's better than what was before.
So if you're saying before that almost more about half of your students, you were saying, left the valley, what number would you say you're at right about now, percentage?
Right about now, I would say probably we have got around 50 to 60 percentage right now. Right now, that's a lot for us right now.
Um, Wow. Yeah, of course. So, so the other, I guess, 40% are out of Valley and they don't have access to a network. Is that
No,
correct?
they do, but they aren't that much consistent. But I believe in a month, in a week or so, because we're planning to reopen and have a physical session, with routine wise. So I have heard that everyone is settling back, coming back to their locations. So
Wow.
probably in a week or so we may have them back.
Wow. So you are going to reopen physically.
Right now, so we have opened for the upper grades. That would be grade 8 to 10, only from 11 to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. But still, we need to have a lot of work to be done because it's the children, and still parents are hesitant. We have mixed views still.
Mhm. Absolutely. My school only went back to being physically open about a month ago. So we just had our first month of that. And we're a small school as well. We're not a very big school. We're a private school. So we are only doing physical.
Mm.
And we definitely had some hesitant parents. And then we had to close down for a week or two because we had a case and we didn't know how the spread was going to work. So there's a lot of challenges there. I definitely understand. So how have your students adapted to this? The students who have been able to join on in the network, how has their motivation been, their engagement?
Well, I do have those that simply amazes me. My primary students. I mean, like their enthusiasm, and especially seeing, the children. They are signing in 15 minutes before the class, and I'm getting confused as to, is this my student from this class or the other? I'm telling them, okay, guys, you come back. Your class is on the next session. So seeing the eagerness, the enthusiasm towards, oh, my class is right now, or my class is coming up, it just energizes me to see them. But still, I have, there's a bit difficulty with the senior grades. It's kind of difficult, to grab them and attract them towards, pull them towards the learning, as if now it's quite difficult, and they're developing and they have their own understanding. Children, they are motivated themselves, but the senior grades is what I had a little bit of difficulty into encouraging them. and but there are those that really inspires you and that pushes you. What next am I going to teach them, or what next, what am I supposed to design for them? There were those as well for me.
Absolutely. I so know exactly what you mean, that the students who are so dedicated and energized, that it energizes you as well.
Right.
So other than the academic content, how does it seem like your students are doing? How, like, socially and emotionally, how does it seem like they're doing in that regard?
I believe they are having this difficulty. It has got to their mind that they're at home, and they're not being able to meet their friends. So I do sense with number of my students that somewhere between the line that they are having a little bit of trouble, managing themselves and believing that will they ever be able to go to school or see their friends, or this is like I mean, like, it's okay, it's distant, leave it, there will be a time when I go to school and I think I can catch up. I have those set as well, so I believe they did have a time period where they were quite mentally challenged also, to
Absolutely.
some extent, to some.
I'd love to hear about what you think has been most successful this year. Maybe either a personal success or a school-wide success. What's a moment that has been very successful this year?
Uh, first, I would like to share about the school as a whole. That would be that all our staffs are now well equipped with the digital platform. We always used to be, logging behind the ICT teacher for every little detail. It was related with typing, or recording a video, or how to plug it in and share it with the children. But now I know that every single teacher of mine is able to do that on their own, and I am simply proud for this.
Absolutely. That's
And that was for me as well. That was for me as well.
that's such an important success, learning all those platforms. Oh my gosh. What is the message you would want to deliver to, I guess, the world about what education is right now and how it has been?
Well, relating with this period as well, I have learned a great deal, because I've seen the importance as well. Because even families that are well off had to go through so much, regarding the education itself, whether it was for the child or it was for themselves as well. So I believe this has been an opportunity for us as a human to learn to what extent can a simple basic education or the foundation. It doesn't have to be into academics, it could be general knowledge, it could be related to humanity, anything. Please have hope, and then at least give your best to whatever it is, and then it simply will be an educating direction for any of the receiving side. For me, that is what I would like to say.
Absolutely. That's such a hopeful message. It's very uplifting. So I guess I'm interested just getting some general information. How many kids go to your high school where you teach?
We have an enrollment right around 600.
Okay, 600. And what kind of setting are you currently teaching in? Are you all virtual? Are you in person, hybrid?
We're all virtual, and the teachers are going back on Monday. The
Wow.
school board just met last night and voted to have the teachers go back in the building. We were in the building the first 2 weeks of the school year, and we had such a big, COVID just hit people too hard here, and there were too many incidents, and we had people in the building that had COVID and didn't realize it until they got tested. And so nope, we're all going home. And the
Wow.
tribe has been shut down here since about last St. Patrick's Day. So it's been about a year. And when I mean shut down, I mean, everything closed. We still had 2 grocery stores open, but all the schools, the buildings were closed, and none of the tribal offices were open. There's some government facilities here that were closed. This was like a ghost town for a while.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So since you're on a reservation, you're under your own jurisdiction. So is that correct?
Sort of. It depends on what you're talking about specifically.
Okay. So in terms of school, who kind of makes those decisions?
The school board. And we have a public school here.
Okay,
it's not a tribal school. It's not a Bureau of Indian Education school. It's a public school.
I guess I'm interested in knowing, when we first did it in my old school, we didn't really know what to do in terms of asynchronous work. Are we meeting them virtually? How did you guys make that transition? So when you first started and to now?
We were having a break at the time when they told us. So we had a couple days to figure out what to do. And I felt really fortunate that I had learned how to do work online pretty much exclusively. And other folks were still doing paper and pencil, and they're like, oh no, what do I do? And since we were all busy with our own classes, it was hard to share out. We English teachers often get together after hours and on the weekends and discuss what we need to do to help the kids. And that helped.
Yeah.
Just sharing our information, and we're supportive of each other.
Absolutely. So you guys kind of came together and supported each other as like English teachers.
Right. And there's people in the building who are really good at tech, like our tech mentors and the people in the IT department. They were kind of helpful, but nobody had done this before.
Absolutely.
Totally virtual. And those words synchronous and asynchronous, I hate those words. It doesn't mean anything. And they keep throwing them at us. Quit it. And virtual. Yeah, this is actually really teaching.
Yeah. It is absolutely teaching.
I know.
So what has been the biggest challenge kind of delivering your content virtually or doing it in this medium?
For me, it's the same as in the classroom, getting the kids to be excited about what I'm trying to teach them. And I love to teach classical literature.
What sort of unique challenges have you faced sort of during this time?
The kids who don't have internet. Now the district has provided the kids all with, they call them jetpacks. And I think, I don't know what company it's from, but some places on the reservation can't get signal. And we don't know that. The teachers don't know it. And it's only until the parents will contact the school, and sometimes there's just a lack of communication. That's been the most challenge. I had one of my students contact me today. Thank goodness. I've been writing to her at least once a week, if not more. And she said, well, I just got my computer. Well, we're nearly halfway into the second semester.
Yeah.
You're going to have to probably repeat the whole year.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, that's such a shame. But what can you do?
Yeah. And we had people, I told the people at the school, these are the students that haven't signed in, and they went to her house and they didn't see her. And I said, you have to talk to her, because her brother just said, yeah, everything's fine. No, it wasn't. And that's just one example, out of, I don't know what the percentage is, but there was probably, I'm going to guess, around 20% of the kids who hadn't signed on yet as of Christmas time. And they're really attached. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a problem everywhere. That was a problem in my old school too. Just kids who you didn't hear, you'd heard like neither hide nor hair of them. You didn't know where they were. You didn't know what was going on, especially because I used to teach elementary school. So the kids were super dependent. They needed a lot of support. So how are your kids doing? I guess that's the question. We teachers, we see them in a certain light and we get a read on how they're doing. How are your kids doing?
Different kids are doing really well, and kids who you would think would really take off with this are not. High school kids, sometimes they want to be the center of attention, but most of the time they want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So in my virtual classrooms, I don't make them turn their cameras on for a couple of reasons. If they're shy, I don't want to make them feel bad and not come back to class. And sometimes their Wi-Fi isn't good enough to have the camera on and listen to what the teacher's saying and talk to each other. They just disappear. And then they always email me, I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi went bad. And I just feel so bad for them. It's not their fault.
Absolutely. I know it's so, yeah, the kids with the Wi-Fi struggles have been, because on the best days in the classroom, you kind of get into a flow, you're in a flow and the kids are in a flow. I found that doing this virtually, it breaks up the flow just like nothing else. Like this kid is in the middle of saying, well, I really think that, and they cut out and they're gone.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, or they're like, oh, we couldn't hear you. I'm like, oh, good. It's just the stuff where all the flow is just all broken up.
The kids, they're so helpful. They're like, Miss Grandstaff, we couldn't hear you. Or there's an echo. They just give me the feedback that I need to be able to teach them well. I just love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. The kids will let you know. The kids will let you know what's going on, usually pretty quickly. And I love that.
Yeah. And they'll stay after school to tell me stuff. They'll wait until everybody's gone out of the class. Almost every class, I have somebody stay who needs to talk to an adult, or they just need to have some feedback themselves. And I just love that. I wish that every kid had a noise canceling headset. Every kid needs one, because they'll try to answer me and you can hear little kids in the background. You can hear a TV, you can hear adults talking to each other. And you know that child does not have a dedicated space for learning. And that's probably true during the regular school year, but it's even more pronounced right now. I just feel so bad for them. And I'm like, can't we just get these? And I brought it up in a staff meeting and it just went, phew. You'd think that somebody could write a grant proposal and get that funded,
Yeah.
And then somebody says, well, what if they use them to play games on? Yay!
Who cares? Yeah.
Right?
When they're out of class, they can do whatever they want with them.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one need that I think we could fill here, but I just can't get anybody on board who can make those decisions. That would be really helpful for these guys. It would help me if I was in a room like that. I'm fortunate in that I live alone and no noise is going on that I'm not in control of, but the kids don't have that.
I see the same thing with so many of my kids. You can just tell their environments are very difficult to focus, to get organized. And the classroom, no classroom is perfect, but at least you have that kind of equalizing environment. We're all here as teachers, we try to control as much as we can to make it conducive for learning. And we lose that control totally when kids are at home. Is there anything that people who are not teaching, who are not involved in education, should know about what this experience has been like? Maybe something like a peek behind the curtain.
We're trying our hardest. We are working. We're not lazy. We're not staying home because we're lazy. We're staying home because we want to be alive when this is over. There's so many, like we lost a dear teacher to COVID in this district. Many of our teachers have gotten the virus in this district, and it's just devastating. There are teachers who can't come back to the building because they're still suffering and they had it 6 months ago. That kind of thing, that just goes on, and we hear it from each other. And people outside don't know that that's why we're staying home. We don't get into this to be lazy. We get into this because we want to do the work.
Yeah.
And this is just hard. It's just very difficult for us to do what we were trained to do. We were not trained to do this, that's for sure.
Is there something that people can do to assist teachers and students, like parents or families or people in general? What can they do to help us and our students right now?
Stop vilifying us. Start giving us the credit that we deserve for hanging in there. There's so many people that just are not able to do this anymore. The list of people who are getting out of education right now is forever long. And people aren't learning to be teachers. What are folks going to do when we all back off and say, hey, I didn't sign up for this? I'm talking to at least 2 teachers a week who say, I'm not coming back, I can't come back, or I need to quit right now to keep my sanity.
Wow.
So if we would stop being vilified in the media, in private conversations. I said at a board meeting last night, on virtual, of course, where people were saying these teachers are so selfish, not wanting to go back in the classroom. Yeah, we want to kind of save our lives. That's pretty selfish, isn't it? The vilification is just destroying us.
And to end on a truly kind of moment of finding the joy, what is something that has happened in your classroom, your virtual classroom, in the past week that has made you smile or brought you joy?
Oh, every day somebody gets it.
Yeah.
Somebody will understand what I'm trying to get across to them. And it's not the same person every day, but somebody will get it. And you can, you know, in the classroom, it's almost like you can see a light bulb go on over their heads. But here, you can hear it in their voice. Or if they're too shy to talk, they'll put it in the chat.
What do you miss most about like the subjects that would really help you like during being physically in school?
I'd probably say math and science, because in math and science it comes with some of the questions were kind of difficult, and so I didn't really have nobody around to ask questions about it. So yeah, like being in school was easier because, like I said, question wise and help. And I'd say being online school is kind of hard because, like, if you don't know a certain assignment and you need help, there's nobody to ask except emailing the teacher.
Do you think your guys' environment, like in itself, impacts your online learning? Like being able to have Wi-Fi or being able to have computers or anything like that?
I'd say that is a big thing about online school, is in an environment, because like my house is really loud and it's kind of hard to concentrate on my work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Me too. My house is really loud too.
Yeah.
My house is really loud. We got like a 3-year-old running around.
Oh, I have a 6-month-old screaming.
And it's really hard for me to concentrate because I have ADHD.
And what subject did you guys want to take for college, if you guys are going to college?
I don't know.
I'd probably want to take a business class or psychology.
Oh, do you know which college you wanted to attend?
Like realistic ways or like dream?
Dream, go for it.
I would probably have to say Stanford or the University of Arizona.
Oh.
My top 2. Yeah.
How about you?
Business.
Do you know which college though?
In community college. If they are. Yeah.
My dream college was Princeton or North Carolina.
That's a good college.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
So to start off with Ava, can you tell me something that sits with you from all the different interviews that you've done? You spoke with Destiny, you spoke with a student in Nepal, and your friend Olive who lives in New Jersey. What have you learned from all these interviews?
Well, I think that what I learned is I loved learning about people from everywhere, from Nepal, from Hawaii, from New Jersey, because it was interesting to see how everyone did school and how everyone processed everything, like how everyone was feeling and how everyone liked school and didn't like some subjects and liked some subjects. And my favorite thing was I loved listening to the end of it, because at the end, I always asked them what their basically their big takeaway was and what advice they would give to kids out there. And their advice was stay safe, have fun, but do your work, wear a mask, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And I just think that that's amazing to hear from students, in the modern day, just, these are just students and this is what they think. And it's really interesting because they're really profound messages.
Absolutely. Destiny, what about you?
It's not something that really I've learned, but it was something that kind of struck me in a way, is that how everybody from different places, because I interviewed a few girls from the mainland, and I kind of realized that it's not that different most places. Like anywhere you go, you find people with bad internet connection. It's not like everybody is like completely different. There's some people that mesh in with you and people you can relate to. And I feel like they were both kind of shy in a way, but the interview really did push through for me to actually learn something from them.
Mm-hmm. That sounds awesome. And I'm gonna ask more questions, but just to follow up quickly, Ava, can you tell me a little bit about this? Why it sounds like a common theme you've noted is asking for help over Zoom and kind of how hard that can be. So do you feel like a lot of kids were recognizing the importance of, even though we're not in the classroom, it's still important to find ways to ask for help, even if it's kind of untraditional?
Yeah, especially Destiny. It was really, really great to hear everyone say this, but Destiny was really, really for this. And yeah, I do think it's really, really hard, but a lot of kids, you got to ask for help if you are feeling stuck or you're in trouble and you don't know what to do. You can just teacher, ask your classmates. And that was something that was really cool, because I'm pretty sure at least every single person that I interviewed mentioned it at least once. But Destiny was really, really forward on that. And I really liked that. That was really cool.
That's really cool. That's so important. So you both, Destiny, you feel like you have found ways to ask for help and communicate with your teachers, even in a virtual setting?
Yeah. Okay. I have, and I pushed my classmates, and sometimes kids that don't even go to my school, I kind of push them. Oh, if you're having trouble, just ask for help.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
No, that's super important. I feel like we lost. That's really important, and that's amazing that you both have recognized that can still happen, because even I get confused as a college student sometimes, being like, oh, I can go to your virtual office hours, but we can get help. And that's definitely a good note. Okay, I'm just gonna ask a few more questions. So what have you what do you feel like you guys have lost and gained over the last year? We can talk academically, but sort of, I mean, we're also missing out on other areas of life as well, or kind of learning in other areas. So I don't know, in general, what do you think you've lost and gained?
Should I go first?
I feel like
Go ahead.
I feel like I've gained more opportunities for extra credit classes because I believe 3 right now. I'm doing 3 extra credit classes that I was not doing in 8th grade, and it kind of opens up opportunities for kids because now there's like, it's on Zoom, so there's more room for more kids.
That's interesting. Like, you feel like class size can be expanded a little bit because since we're not all physically in the classroom. I felt like that too. I feel like I can get into classes more easily than before because there's like the fire hazards aren't there. Things like that you don't think about really. What about you, Ava?
What I feel like I've lost and gained is, well, I feel like I've lost a little bit of social skills just because I feel like everyone has, because I feel like now people don't really know how to talk to others because we're sort of like, hi, I haven't like seen you in a year. What's the weather?
Right.
But right. Like it's just because we haven't been able to see each other for like a year.
I read this thing recently that this one school that now that I think most people are vaccinated or they feel it's safe to kind of bring people back, but instead of what you would think they would do, which is like have more class and more, I don't know, kind of catch everyone up because it feels like there's been lost time in that way. They are planning this like camping trip and all these things. And they were saying, we feel it's more important to make up for lost memories, which I think, and it's a school though, like a school can function in that way too. And I think that's really powerful and interesting. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I love that because in my school, we were going to have 6th grade camp. We were going to sign the yearbook. We were have a 6th grade dance, 6th grade awards. We were going to walk the halls during Halloween and during the end of the school year. And we were going to be in the top floor of the building. And I was so excited.
Right.
And we didn't get to do any of that. And so I love that they're doing that because that's really cool.
Yeah, Eva, I'm so sorry. I hear that so much because those are all things that sound so exciting. But I hope next year it's even more special in that way so that you can, both of you, I mean, you've both experienced this, but get to have all those things and it's going to feel more meaningful, I think, when they do.
I feel like high school wise, I've seen this a lot. Parents are, in a sense, they're getting more strict about our schoolwork, but in a sense, I feel like they should slack off a little bit because even us as students, it's like a lot of pressure, like being home all the time, you don't get to go anywhere. And then on top of that, now you have a bunch of assignments you have to finish. And on top of that, your parents are yelling at you to do all of it and get good grades. And then on top of that, there's like, your friends are asking you for the answers and asking you for help with the homework. And you're like, I'm struggling with everything. I need motivation. Yes. I feel like parents to motivate kids more, but not in a scolding type of way.
I know exactly what you mean, like more like positive re-encouragement that this is hard, but like we can do it.
I learned that no one should take their education for granted because it can determine your entire life. And it's so important. And we just lost it for a while. There were some times that in the very beginning, I didn't even have school for like 2 weeks. And then we did a few 2-hour things and then we did some work. And now we're back to full days, which is really nice. It's just not the same. And so it's weird. And I learned not to ever take it for granted because it's so important. Also just think it's going to be really nice not to always use computers. I think that's all. It's another part of taking it for granted. We use computers all the time now, and my eyes, I have blue light glasses that I just can't find right now, but I use them every single day because my eyes just can't take it and it hurts my head so badly. And it's funny because I miss all of those papers where you're like, oh gosh, my hand hurts so bad. Oh man, I wish this was all online. No, you don't, pass us. No, you don't.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. What have you, anything for you, Destiny? I don't know.
I feel like I really do miss interaction. I'm not like interaction with other students, but like we have mala, so we have like a garden at our school and we have hands-on activity there. And I feel like now that we're like home, it's kind of like, oh, I miss being in the mala and picking fruits and eating it off the trees or feeding the pigs, even though we're not supposed to, or raking up leaves. I miss having physical interactions with the land because I feel like you could do it at your house. Like I could, but it's like I don't have friends that want to do it with me. So I'm just like, oh, that's just my garden. That's just my yard. I don't really want to go outside right now. And then when I'm at school, I'm like, oh, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go pick fruits off the trees. Let's do this. Let's do that. So I feel like the social interaction and also the physical interaction would be something I really miss.
Even though this is awful, it can also be amazing because, you know, you're online, but you're interacting with people at least, and you're still learning, and you can make it fun. Like, I don't know, my class, during remote class, I was sort of excited to come to school, but not as much as I used to be. And then I got to this remote class with my teacher right now, and I love school, but mostly because of the people. And I think that the people, you got to keep being with the people, even if it's by Zoom. You got to keep talking to people because, you know, they're people who bring light into other people's lives. And that's